Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, Matchbox March, our dive into 1970s nostalgia continues. We march on. So today we've now finished with the planes. We're changing our attention to the ARMOUR ranges. Now this is for me where Matchbox were pretty much unique, because for ARMOUR read DIORAMA. Yeah. Now these guys, came into the market wanting to do things slightly differently, and they decided that the way to do that, especially against the established people like Airfix in particular in this market, was to offer a little diorama. So instantly you've got like a double appeal. The vehicles and armoured vehicles that they came out with were pretty good anyway, to be honest. Only 1/76 scale. But I think they did a remarkable job of it, and they made a lasting impact that is quite unforgettable on the market. A greater impact on this market than they did on the aircraft, and I thought they made a nice impact on that, frankly. So we're going to get into this. You'll see I've got a collection of most of the purple range around me. I think there's 16. There are others that I don't have. Again, one or two that I don't want particularly. But I've got all the major ones. So we've got the Comet, we've got the Sherman Firefly, Soviet T-34, the Wespe, the mobile gun, tank destroyer. We've got the Panther. Now I've only got one of those. This is a very rare one in my collection. That's the only one of these, I think, that I've only got one of, the Panther. And not because they were particularly rare, but I just can't find it. I can only find one with a decent box. But it's an original one, so that's quite value. So I'm hoping my little stack of them here doesn't suddenly collapse, which is a real possibility. Then we've got the Humber armoured car. We've got the Panzer III Ausf L, the Jagdpanther, the half-track, the M16, the Puma armoured car, the Hannomag. The Puma and the Hannomag. We're going to talk about box art a lot on those because it's quite interesting. And we've got the Krupp-Prots KF69, complete with the, I think it's a Daimler wagon that tows it, anti-tank gun. Sorry, the Krupp-Prots is the wagon, and it's got the 37mm Panzer cannon with it. And then we've got the Chaffee M24, of which I'll show you a finished model. We've got the Panzer 4, the L70, the M7 Priest, and the Panzer II Ausf F. So we've got quite a selection. I think because of the way I've stacked them all, I think I'm probably going to, in all honesty, I'm probably going to start at the top because I don't want them to fall and all collapse all over the place, which is a real danger actually. So I think we'll probably start with the nearest one to me actually, it's the T34. And this is again an original. Now again, I've got a couple of these, but this is the only one that's an original boxing with a window box. So let's have a look at this one. So this is PK82. Oops, there we go. Nice artwork, quite colourful, it has to be said, very colourful, striking. And again, the typical thing that they do, they have a little write-up. It's Stalingrad, saying the Germans are now entering Stalingrad, and there is a Panzer II. This one is actually blown up here. You can actually see it's damaged and on fire at the side. That's been stopped in its tracks. So yes, on the side typically of these, of course, you get 4 adverts for all the other different items in the range, and every one of those we'll see in a minute. On the opposite side, you get the side profile. Interestingly, for some reason, it doesn't necessarily show it in the actual colour. That's the colour you should paint it, they say. That's very much in the summer colours, of course. If you want to go for a winter one, you need to make it a bit whiter. And indeed, proving my point, here we have the first diorama. So you've got this lovely little tank. You've got a bit of ground. It's in definitely the winter colours, isn't it? You've got this bit of ground with a fence that it's smashing through, and you've even got a Soviet soldier here with his machine gun. Very, very nice kit. I will show you though what the actual finished product looks like, because I have one. Here's one I prepared earlier, as they used to say in Blue Peter. Let's see if he knocks everything over. Let's just pop that there. Here's one I prepared earlier, just in the true Blue Peter fashion. Here we go. Now then, what do you make of this? Don't expect the world's greatest effort, because with Matchbox I never go I never go full on to make it look like a modern kit, because I kind of want them to retain that Matchboxism, if you know what I mean. I want it to retain some of its original look, but you can see I've got some sort of pinky brown snow, which is typical when a muddy tank drives through snow, the snow effect. But I'll take it off the diorama, you can see what I mean. There you go. He's crashing through the fence, smashing his way through there. We've got a machine gun on the back, rotating turret, no problem at all. I think I did have an issue here. I think we had a bit of a dodgy, rather old rubber band track, so hence I display it this way, this direction, so you can't see that normally. Just put our turret back. But yeah, we've got the figure. And they're lovely, aren't they? I mean, remember this was 30 pence, and these came out in 74. I think one or two of them say 73. I'm just going to check that actually. One or two say 73, but I think they actually arrived in 74. What does that one say? It says 73. They came out second, so the aircraft came out first in the spring. I think these came out about October, November 74 from memory, so it was like a 6-month gap, and then these came on the market in time for Christmas. And they did have an impact, you know, people sort of, you think, oh, what's this? I mean, I remember for me, I think it's the Sherman Firefly, which I think was the first one, which we'll get into in a minute. And instantly I was like, wow, this is really cool. You've got this little diorama. Suddenly you've got everything you need in one box. You've got the decals. It's pre-coloured, so the age I was only 7, well, just coming up to 8 at that age, that time. But it was all there for you, you know. What more did you need? What more did you need? So yeah, I think that they were really cool. So there you go. So there's a Soviet T-34. So that's the first one, which I'll now move aside so that we don't have a situation of knocking things flying. By the way, I'm zooming out again. By the way, I'm hopefully not going to sort of expire coughing like I did in one or two of the previous videos. I do apologise. What's happened in the UK? We've had this wet, warm, fairly warm-ish long winter, and now it's gone really cold, and it seems to have flared my cough up a bit. But yesterday, when I did the filming for the previous videos, which was all in one day, in fact, probably guessed by the shirt, but I got really bad coughing fits, and I think it was too warm. So I've got a cup of tea at hand, so we should be okay. I know in one of the videos it wore on later in the day, and I had a glass of wine. That fixed me, I'll tell you. You can't be good medicine. Anyway, moving on. So next, we're going to talk about the Sherman Firefly. Now this was the first one of the range, in fact, and the first one that I had personally. And I actually had this, when did I actually have this? I think it was late 75 I had this. What's the date on this? Now this particular boxing is interesting. You'll note that it's absolutely pluperfect immaculate, but it is actually one of the later boxings. Now I have got the earlier ones, I just wanted to show you one that was really sort of mint. I've got about 3 or 4 of these. And I've built one, which I'll show you in a second. But this is the later one, so there's no window at all. And this is dated 83. Now this is this interesting period I talked about, where it is around the time that Matchbox went out of business. They actually went out in end of September in 82. But the fact remains that the new owners hadn't yet repackaged and had everything reprinted. So this is almost like an interim packaging, which I quite like. I do miss the window. I've got to be honest. I preferred those boxes. But it's got everything you need. It's got all your markings on the side, and it's the 2nd Battalion of the Coldstream Guards in Normandy, or the 2nd Fife and Forfar Yeomanry in the Rhineland in Germany. And of course, you get your lovely bit of bridge, which appears to have been blown away. I'm not sure why he's trying to go up that bridge, whether he doesn't realise yet that it's not quite there anymore. But I'll show you the finished thing in a second. And then on the side again, you get advertising the Comet, the Panther, Panzer III, and the Humber armoured car. Now, getting this, you know, this literally was the genesis, the first armour and diorama kit that I'd ever seen. So I was very, very impressed with it. Now I've got a rather, you might say, shoddily built one. Here it is. Here it is. Now this is not my best effort. This is just thrown together in a weekend. Again, I wanted to do it in the same way to make it look like a Matchbox. I'm not trying to make it look like one of my, you know, Tamiya or ICM or Meng or anything else like that. We're just trying to turn the clock back to 1970, 73, 74 really, and there you go. So there's your Sherman Firefly. It's got its rotating turret. We've got our bridge, rather rudimentary you might say. This one is actually, I think it's the Coldstream Guards. I'm not quite sure now, I can't remember, but anyway. So there you go. So there's your Firefly with its 17-pounder gun. But isn't it nice? It's a nice little diorama. And when you're not used to those kind of things, as we were not, it was a complete breath of fresh air. Very, very nice indeed. Now, next one, another British one this time. And this again is another one on the late boxings, but I've got the early ones, but they're just a little bit not quite as nice looking, perhaps. A little bit more aged. But this one is a completely wrapped, untouched, sealed example of the Comet A34, and of course Tamiya recently did a 1/35th version of this, which is absolutely beautiful. But this retains its charm, I have to say. So you've got, this one's PK 72, so that's the second one in the series, because they start with a 7. It's just the way they did the number sequencing. And here you can see here, the broken barrel is just because it's longer than they actually depict, and they wanted to show squeezy tin. That's the way that they did the illustrations. So, and on this one you've got a choice of the second 5 and 4 fire yeomanry again, actually, so it's the same guys that have the Sherman. And of course this has the same gun, the 17-pounder gun. Also you've got the 1st Royal Tank Regiment in Berlin in Germany, September 45, just after the end of the war, 6 months almost. And here we have it with its diorama, and I will again in true Blue Peter fashion. Here is one I prepared earlier, and this one I was really very, very sort of deliberately doing it without painting the wheels, which is I know a bit naughty and a bit silly, but I just wanted it to look like the way I did the very first one, which is what I did. I painted it green at the time with Humber enamels, and I didn't paint the wheels because they get dirty anyway, so brown is the right colour. But I did, on this one you can see I did do all the barbed wire effect, that was smashed, barbed wire fencing all smashed down, and the sort of crater puddle. So that's all been done, just for a bit of fun really, And these are they all sit together in my cabinet deliberately as Matchbox, a throwback, if you like, nostalgic throwback, nod to the days of old. You'll notice there that it's got this what's left of a bit of a tree. But it's a nice kit, that. I really liked it, and I like the look of the Comet. It's a very good looking tank. So that's the first 3. Now I will, if I may just have a second, I'll zoom you back because that would help, I think. So you see what else is on the desk. Now I think we'll next go to the one in the middle, which is almost in the middle, which is the Humber. It says, hoping not to knock everything flying. Now I've got to say, this is probably, if I'm really honest, I nearly did these when I was going to do these videos for this Easter, Matchbox March. I very nearly made it, what's your top 10 favourite Matchbox kits? But I couldn't even name my top 10 of my own. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't, really. However, this I think is my favourite of the ARMOUR kits. This one just jumped out. There's something about this kit that is so cute, if that's the word. It's such a dinky little thing. It's got brilliant artwork again. I think again it's Roy Huxley's wonderful art. And have a look at this. This is an absolute beauty. Look at that. So they're in the Western Desert. They've just attacked a German column. How does it say here? This is a terrible one actually. They've actually printed black on black basically, which didn't make it very easy. So I'll skip over that. Over on the side we've got this because this is tiny. This is a very small kit. But that's kind of its charm in a way, as you'll see in a second. It's a very small vehicle, relatively speaking. This is PK 75, so this is the 5th one. And it comes, and this one's actually been bagged by somebody, so that's very nice. I got a really mint example here, very lucky. Lucky indeed. But you can see it's got this wonderful little, it's come to a dead end at a sort of damaged, destroyed building. And the tank commander, armoured car commander, is peeping out with his binoculars, having a good scan at the scenery. Over here, we've got all the usual adverts for the ones we were talking about. But of course, you'll want to see my Blue Peter special. Here is one I prepared earlier for you. Here it is. Here's one I prepared earlier. My very own Humber. And again, this I think I made this about 10 years ago. But I deliberately didn't paint it in this case because I thought, yes, well, I didn't paint it at the time. All I painted was the tyres, really. So I thought, it doesn't look terrible, you know. When you're more than 3 or 4 feet away, you don't see it's not painted. You just don't. And it looks great. You've got this, again, a crater with a tyre sticking out of it. It's kind of got the blue hue is from some oil that's been dumped in it, he says, trying to get your imagination going. Trying to brainwash you into my imagination even. But look at it, isn't it nice? It's such a little tiny thing, look at it. It's tiny, yeah? And there's the base. So most of the base isn't painted. Again, trying to evoke what my original one looked like back in 76, I think I built this one. What's the date actually? Let me check that. 73 it's dated. Well, I didn't get this till about 75, 76. Because my local post office that sold the kits, they didn't get them all. But yeah, I have to say I have a lot of a warm sort of feeling about this one. I really like it, and I think it's one of the better sort of concepts that they did. A really nice little kit, and I'll bet I'm sure these sell like hotcakes. I bet many of you have built this one. I've probably still got it, some of you. That's another nice one that I really like. So we'll move that one over there. Just let me rearrange for a second. Just need to have a slight reorganisation. There we go. Then we've got the Panther, which I say is a very rare one because I couldn't find. I kept buying Panthers or trying to buy them, and they were just all got crushed boxes or horribly discoloured and knackered. So I wanted an original one with the actual window box at the back, and I finally got a really nice one here. Dated 73. Now I've got to say this is not one of the most inspiring dioramas. I think they were a little bit unimaginative for this one. It's just a bit of earth with a bit of a tree sticking out of it, which is, yeah, a bit boring. It is supposed to be the Italian campaign, and you've got the option there of the 26th Panzer Division, or the 2nd, which is in southern Italy, which is on the artwork is supposed to depict a battle in southern Italy, hence the dry looking fine weather, dry ground. Or you've got Normandy, June 1944 as the second option, with that typical sort of a Normandy scheme, shall we call it. There. So there we go. That's a very nice one indeed, actually. Now, again, I've done all these kits that you're seeing here. Every one of them. Sorry, zoom you out. Every one of these I've done a review on. So, as I've said before, if you want to see an actual review of these, it's not a problem. You just put my name in, Matchbox, and then Panther in this case, and you'll be able to see that on YouTube anytime it pleases you. Now then, let's go to, as we're still with the Germans. It's a row of Germans here. Panzer III. Now this one actually it's got just a tiny discoloration, but other than that it's in very good condition. And this was also hard to get my hands on, to get a decent one. I have got 3 of them, but the others I think are the later iteration without the window box. But this is the original genuine first issue. And by the way, I should have explained, all of these armour kits, because they were issued late in 73, none of them have a lift top box, none of them. They all came with the window box as the first issue. So you won't find a lift top on any of those. And somebody was asking me after the Purple Range video, and he was saying that he wanted to get the Mirage with an original lift top box, and I said, yeah, I think they actually only ran them up to PK15, so it was only the very first tranche issued, and then I think PK15 or PK16 onwards, because I think Mirage was 17. I think that was on the second tranche, and by then they'd switched to the new boxes anyway. So you won't, some of them you won't find ever with a lift top box. So it'll be PK, I think 15 and below in terms of the numbering. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Right, so Here we go. It's the Western Desert again, and this is an assault by the Panzers, charging across the desert, and it says they're pushing towards Sidi Reza during the battles of the Western Desert in 1942. Cool. And you do get an option for a European one. I say European, is it? Or is it? Yeah, it is European. So that's one that's probably going to get used in Normandy later, in the darker grey scheme. It's grey and brown, actually. This one I like. There's not a lot to this diorama, but I just like the sort of cleverness of it. You've got this skull of like a cattle, an oxen skull, just lying on the sand on this like an embankment or a wadi, which I thought was quite cool. I thought they did that really well. Now I haven't got this one made. I haven't got one of these. I have built it before, so maybe I should pick a bad one. Not this one because it's an original box. But maybe I should pick a bad one, or just get any of these you can get in the Revel boxings. But just be careful, because you want to make sure, don't go for the first diorama version, which costs about £20 odd. They have reduced them. They tried to sell them for £21 about 3 years ago. They brought them out, first diorama, new packaging, dumping all this beautiful artwork, which they did anyway, which is a real shame, because I don't think they had the legal rights to use the Roy Huxley artwork anyway. So they came out with this, making out like they were new, and of course they were just the standard kits that I have in front of me, but stamped out in one colour only, with new decals, granted, but apart from that, nothing new at all. So be wary of those. Just go for the ones that are not called first diorama, and you can find any of these in the Revel boxing. Whether they're still actually producing them, I think they are. You'll certainly pick them up though. They're 10 a penny. In fact, I should have explained, when I showed you this one, the T34, that is in fact one of the Revel ones. So that only came in one colour, because I didn't want to use any of my precious Matchbox, because I think I've only got 3 of these. Only 3! Oh! I'm having the vapours and getting palpitations at the very thought of it. Oh my god, I'm almost running out of them. Jesus. Anyway. So yeah, so you just buy the Revel versions. Don't go using the Matchbox. Don't go buying the first diorama, because you just find that the price is more. And you can pick a lot of these up for about £10 or thereabouts, under their older sort of Revel boxing in the last 15-20 years. Next, I think I might as well go to the Wespe, I suppose, because it's there, we don't want to knock it over. The Wespe, another one that's quite tricky to get hold of. It seems all these German tanks have been quite hard to get a decent example of, actually. Whereas the things like the Sherman Firefly, they're easy to get hold of. So the Wespe, which is an anti-tank, a sort of tank killer, if you will, mobile gun, self-propelled gun. They call it here Wespe Mobile Guns of the Africa Corps. Move up at Wadi Zemzem in Libya, June the 8th, 1943. Yeah, so this is, I think, coming up towards the final battles in the Western Desert, wasn't it? So, that's very nice. And I say, quite hard to get hold of. You've got, I think there's a second option for the Eastern Front. So just put another sticker on there. There's an Eastern Front option as well, which is the one that you see in front of you in terms of the call out. It's quite nice. Then we've got the wonderful diorama. This is another good one where we have, it's quite hard, probably hard to see actually, because they've not sort of picked it out well. But it's a little guy kneeling down, a mechanic with a spanner, and then you've got the commander looking out, not being very helpful really, but looking out across the desert. And of course, next to the side you've got this palm tree, which is really cool. This is a good one. That's one of the better dioramas, I think, especially the palm tree. I think it has coconuts on it as well, if I remember. I could be wrong. But that's a nice kit. And again, you've got to remember, you're getting all this back in the day. Dated 74, this particular one. You're getting all that for 30p. Okay, it'd be about 36p at the time, by 74. 35p now. No, it would be under 40 pence, that's for sure. What a wonderful kit, you know? Beautiful, aren't we? Right, then we get into one or two where I hope I can give you another example. Let's go to the American M16 half-track. Now this is interesting. I do have several of these. I think I've got 3. I wanted to show you this one because this is interesting in terms of the packaging. I prefer the original versions, as you know, but this is one of the very late ones. This is actually when Revell had already got the Grundpunkt. Now this came out around about 91, 92. This branding, this is the recycling brand of Germany. So you already know that there's German involvement just by the fact that that's stuck on it. And then when you look on the back, clearly we have the later type boxing anyway. Now it's dated 83. Where is it? I've lost it. It says 74 Matchbox International there. But then somewhere else, I'm sure it said 83. And you can tell it's the 83 packaging. And then it's got distributed by Revell AG. Well, Revell had actually bought this company by then. I think this is actually issued in 1991-92. I'm sure of it, in fact. Because it was early mid-90s when Revell took them over. But I like the way it says 74 there. Well, this was not produced as you see it in 74, I can guarantee you. This is a much, much later iteration. Anyway, we won't worry about that, but it is just interesting to see how they... this is the start. I'm sorry to say this, but I'm sure many of you are going to agree with me. This is the beginning of Revell telling lies about kits, dating it 74. It should say tooling 74, packaging 91, basically is what it should say. And it's not doing that. It's not doing that at all. So I don't like, you can already see that they're starting to learn how to mislead people, as they do frequently with their kits, not being very open about it. You can argue that they've been honest by saying 74 Matchbox, but it says 74 Matchbox International. Well, Matchbox International is not a company that existed until 1980, late 82, early 83, because that's the David Yee Hong Kong based version of Matchbox. So there's no such thing actually as 74 Matchbox International. It was Matchbox Lesley Company Limited. Matchbox was the brand. Anyway, I'm just giving you a bit of history there. In fact, this one is still sealed. I just realised it's actually sealed, completely sealed. It's never been unsealed by me. And again, and you can tell it's Revell's ownership because look at the seal. It's the classic Revell circular, sort of a thick, like a polypropylene label seal. See it? That goes around the corner. See it? Circle. So you know it's Revell. Anybody that's had a Revell kit in recent years recognises that as Revell's packaging straight away. So they can put all the 1974s on that. I can guarantee that that is a 1990s kit in terms of the issue date. So a bit naughty. But not to worry, it's a wonderful kit. And of course, I'm so busy going on about moaning about packaging. Again, it's not got perhaps got the best lighting or contrast on the artwork. Well, here we've got an interesting one. So this is obviously the it's the 450 cal anti-aircraft guns, which are basically aircraft cannons, if you will, aircraft machine guns, as you get on something like a Thunderbolt. 4 of those mounted on an M16 half track, and it's crossing a railway embankment, or a railway line, it looks like. So rather an unusual and quite an original sort of take on the diorama. You will doubtlessly be pleased to know that here's one I prepared earlier. I really liked this, and it's one of those that I think many people enjoyed this particular kit because it was a little bit unusual, and it had this railway line effect on it. Look at that. So you can see that he's crossing the railway between the embankment there. There's a massive shell hole which seems to have fallen down. Actually, there's the broken rail where it's been hit by a shell, and it's got a puddle in it. There's your railway line. There we go. The only thing this hasn't got, it doesn't seem to have any driver. I can't remember if it comes with one or not, to be honest. I have a feeling it doesn't, you know. I don't think it does. No, I think it's just. It does have the gunner though. Maybe it's one and the same. Can you see the gunner there? Let's see if I can zoom in a bit more. There's the gunner operating his guns. Do they go up and down these? I'm going to break it on TV. I don't think they do. They certainly swing around. Whoops. They swing around, no problem, but I don't seem to have elevation. So let's hope that the incoming German fighter bombers are at the right height. Yeah. But isn't it nice? Calamity Jane. Yeah, again, I did a fairly simple paint job on it. You know, I didn't go to town, but it's got rubber band tracks for the half track, and it's got the big winch on the front. Just a nice Nice model that. Nice, lovely diorama. Something with a bit of character to it. Very, very nice indeed. Another great one. They're very, very attractive, aren't they? When you think that this was under, 30, 35 pence. I mean, was there ever better value in the modelling world? Ever, frankly. I don't think so, really. Right, then we move on, and now we get some quite interesting ones. Now we've got a couple of examples here. This is the original boxing. No, it's not quite the original boxing. I tell by the way that they haven't got. They haven't quite got the logo the same style, and it's priced at 90p, which tells you that must be late 80s, early 90s. But it's our Jagdpanther. So I said I didn't have a Panther, but I do have a Jagdpanther to show you. Now this is quite an interesting one because it depicts a Normandy scene here. In fact, it looks like Villers-Bocage. It says Jagdpanthers push on past burning Comet tanks. Gosh. To try and recapture Villers-Bocage during 5 bitter weeks of fighting around Caen. Well, it's actually a fair way from Caen, but anyway, it's got to be 20 kilometres, hasn't it? Anyway, nice artwork. I read a very interesting story about, in fact it's in Anthony Beevor's book, D-Day, the Battle for Normandy, where I think it was a Sherman tank commander said that I think his tank had been knocked out, but he talked about Jagdpanthers going past and said that the German tank commander was completely bare-chested with he had his headphones on, but it was quite warm weather, and he was completely bare-chested, and he was just roaring with laughter. He thought he was drunk, so he was roaring with laughter at all the mayhem that they just caused. Anyway, but it struck him, and he's always remembered this scene in his mind, this chap, to his dying day, basically. So here we got the side profile of the Jagdpanther, showing you the colour options. So you can go for what have we got here? We've got the Berlin Division, the Freiwilligen Panzer Grenadier Division, or you've got the SS Panzer Hitlerjugend Division in Normandy 1944, which were the ones at Villers-Bocage, of course, where Michael Wittmann was famous for his tiger. I should just mention tigers, actually, as I mentioned that, bringing tigers up. Here's a strange thing. Matchbox never did a tiger. I never quite understood why, unless they felt they were going to clash with Airfix, but I think they should have done it. It's kind of it's the elephant in the room, really, in the range. The one thing they never did was a tiger. Or maybe a Churchill tank. I still can't get my head around why they didn't tackle either of those. Never mind. This is a 1983 boxing, as you can probably tell because of the lack of window. If we zoom it in, you can see this has got a very interesting diorama. Another one that was quite original that they went for, where it's smashing its way through a brick wall. So it's basically smashing its way onto a street, effectively. And no doubt you would like to see an example of this. I've basically done the minimal job on it. A minimalist job, you could say. And here is one I prepared earlier, complete with the broken or bent street lamp. Smashing his way through a wall. Very rudimentary modelling job by me this time. But this is like the Berlin style, the dark grey. And again, I've tried to keep the colours fairly original. Haven't done a lot of work on it, if we're being brutally honest. But it's just got that original Matchbox charm, and I like that. I think that if you really, just by preference, I don't want to make it look like one of my latest efforts, state-of-the-art techniques. I just want it to look like I remember it, really. And I think there's something there's a joy to that, something simplistic, and it reminds me of the days when, as modellers, we didn't really care about airbrushes and weathering and all that stuff. You just built it for the joy of it and the fun of it, and it was something that made you want to, share it with your friends. My friends were the same. They didn't have airbrushes. Not back in the day when these came out. Nobody had an airbrush. Yes, I got one in about '78, one of the Humber ones with the compressed air can. It was terrible. I thought it was awful. I dropped it. I only used it about twice, and then I just couldn't get good results with it. It was very poor quality. a mass-produced lump of rubbish, really, to be honest. That was my opinion. But no, we all used to sort of have little tank battles, and then we'd break them, and then we'd just get another one on Friday. You know, every Friday I used to get one of these from the local newsagents or the post office. Anyway, digressing. Too much of my history, don't want to hear that. So there you go. So there's your Jagdpanther. And now we get into a couple of interesting ones, which I want to talk about in a little bit more detail. So I'm just going to move these back slightly rearrange them perhaps. And I'll get into these two because we want to talk about an issue I brought up the other day, talking about the purple range before. Get that to sit properly. How's that? So we've got the Puma here, the armoured car, and this is a lovely original boxing I've got actually, and this is a 73 original, real genuine article. So I've actually got several of these. In fact, if I just reach over, I'll show you another one, and this is what I wanted to talk about. So have a good look at, first of all, have a good look at this artwork. It's the Battle of Arnhem, streets of Arnhem in fact. And it says, Diorama cars of the 9th SS Panzer Division closed in on the Allied paratroop forces during the Battle of Arnhem on the 24th of September 1944. And it looks like they're using maybe flamethrowers, and yeah, it's all bad stuff, you know. But it's a beautiful bit of art, another Roy Huxley's finest, with diorama battle display. Now, I'll come to that in a second, but that's the original boxing. Now, you may recall that I complained. There were 3 or 4, maybe more, of the original Matchboxes that then got messed about with, especially in Germany, but generally, you know, for general issue, I mean. This was one that I can't see anything offensive in that picture. There is no, I mean, there's not really any violence as such. It's implied, but it's not actually, you know, it's not of somebody's vehicle. You've actually got British troops surrendering here. You can actually see they've got their hands up. If you saw that, maybe zoom in a bit more, because I'm not sure I spotted that myself in the past actually. British troops look like they're surrendering. Can we see that? You see them there with their hands up? Handy hawk, handy hawk. Here. These guys here. 2 German troops were just behind them in the distance. 2 guys with their hands up. So, again, that's not particularly violent. I'm not sure why there is a problem with this. There's no Nazi symbols or anything offensive like that. If you are offended by it, that's not an issue. It's not here. So why then did they have to go and start messing about? And this is Revell, Germany, you see. This is an issue that you're not going to like, I think. And this is dated 1983. Well, they come clean this time. Even though it's identical to the one we just saw in the layout, they've actually come clean and said it's 1983. But look at the way they have messed about. Here's the original and here's the later version. I'll put them together for you. Look at this. What on earth were they thinking of when they did this? Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, they've taken all the interest out of the scene. The drama is completely gone. Everything's gone. They've even taken out the German officer who was looking out with his binoculars. So it's just a vehicle. It's just become a vehicle. It's no longer a battle. It's no longer war. It's just a vehicle. How stupid is that? Absolutely ridiculous. Now on the rear, they have slightly changed, for the better in fairness, they have slightly changed the image here. One thing they have got right, they've actually shown it with a bit of colour, with the figures and the different colour schemes. So they've done that quite well. But I'm not sure that you ever get past the problem of the frontage, because, you know, in a model shop, in terms of shelf appeal, well, that's got none as far as I can see. Very little. Which would you buy? Which would you buy? Yeah? Absolutely ridiculous, frankly. And this is some of the silliness that going completely over the top. And I know our friends in Germany will say, well, you're not allowed to have Nazi symbols, obviously. Yeah, we know that, okay. But that's no reason to take out and wipe out all the rest of the artwork. Like this was a vehicle that used to deliver the milk or something, you know what I mean? Jeez. I mean, what are they doing? Rant over. Anyway, going back to the original and best with the proper artwork on. You can see here we've got this, again we've got a couple of options to mention. It's the SS Panzer Division Kahn, or you've got the Well, that's a bit odd, isn't it? Because it actually says SS Panzer Division, 9th SS Panzer Division, at Caen in June 1944. And the second option is the Panzer Grenadiers in East Germany, February 45. There's no mention of Arnhem on the back. That's kind of odd. That is kind of strange. Anyway, it doesn't matter, I suppose. But I think we'll stick with the front. We don't want that changing. So that was actually very nice. I wonder if you would care to see a finished example of this. Now, I have to give a quick shout out to my friend Jason at Model Kit Stuff, who has his own YouTube channel. He very kindly, I had several of these Matchbox kits that were very bashed and had bits missing, and in this case it had the whole diorama missing. So Jason actually very kindly, I think he had several of them, and he sent me his street diorama so that I could actually finally complete my my Puma. I've got figures that are falling over, just bear with me a second. This is going to be a real train crash if I'm not careful. So here we go. Here it is. I'm not sure if I've shown this before properly. So here is the diorama now with the proper bits of street completed. There we go. So you can see the figures. I'm just going to move these kits because I think they're going to cause problems with the focus. Let's just move them out of the way for a second. There we are. So we've got our little turret. We've got a bit of broken street, in fact, where they're going to fall over. These guys are. No, they are. Got a bit of broken street there. You can see that it's exposed. I think it might be the electric main. In fact, has been exposed. But yeah, we've got our street. Thanks to Jason very much for sending me this. Really appreciated it. I sent him something in return. So we're all square, but it's very helpful of him. And I've now got the completed diorama in my cabinet, and it's a lovely little it is a nice, I know I'm going to make these guys drop over. How steady is your hand? There we go. Anyway, so it's a really nice diorama, I've got to say. Very, very good indeed. And they're all dropping off now. All my men are falling over. There we go. Bound to happen, wasn't it? Anyway, not going to worry about it. Yeah, nice. So all the more pity that they had to kind of spoil things with, you know, a bit of political correctness, taken to the extremes though. But I'll show you another example of it, which is just as bad. Now, one element on this you might understand a bit more, others you won't. It's the Hannomag, the half track. This is another one, by the way, where I've got missing street scene. Anyway, won't worry about that. It wasn't one of my better ones, so I didn't decide to show it. So you won't be seeing the finished example. But look at this. Now here we have got perhaps a little bit of a problem because there was as you can see, the bonnet is draped with the Nazi symbol, but also there's some beautiful artwork going on here. Roy Huxley is right at the top of his game. So it's North Africa. They're getting strafed by hurricanes. They're fighting back. They're MG34s, as you can see, and I can kind of imagine that symbol on the bonnet might cause an issue. Okay, they could perhaps just remove that. But is that what they did? Is that what they did? No, that is not what they did. They had to go completely over the top, and we went from this to this. Not only did they remove the symbol, but again, they kind of removed everything. So we've now got them apparently firing up at thin air. In fact, they're not firing anymore. The gunfire flash is gone. The aircraft has gone. They basically completely anaesthetised and anodised this. Ruined the image. What a complete waste of time. Just like we saw with the Puma. Isn't that ridiculous? Yeah, okay, I can understand in Germany they needed to take out that symbol, perhaps because of the law, but they didn't need to take it out anywhere else. They certainly didn't need to affect this part of the image. That looks absolutely terrible. Let's go back to the original. There you go, that's what it should look like. It's in the middle of a battle. You know, they even removed part of the actual scenery as well. They cropped it in. It looks terrible. So this looks fantastic. I contend to you that looks absolutely dire. Isn't it ridiculous? Anyway, we'll focus on the good one. So, again, you've got half track, and you've got guns front and rear, and you've got a very interesting street scene, which for some reason I only got the wall. I didn't get the floor. Anyway, anybody out there's got these bits left and they don't want them, please let me know, and I'll be very grateful to take them off your hand. So I just want the floor, the street is missing, that's what I haven't got. I've got the wall. Anyway, but you can actually see I have got the street in this kit. I'm pleading poverty here, but I'm just saying the one I've already got built. I don't want to cannibalise a kit like this, especially when it's a genuine original. So this is a 76 genuine original. That's the real McCoy. And I tell you now that this one that's in my hand is very hard to get hold of. In a good condition, you will struggle. You will struggle to get one like this. But that shouldn't put you off trying. That in the future is probably going to be one of the most collectible because of this thing about the way they changed it. I suspect that'll become very, very sought after by collectors like me. Right, now moving on, because we've got a few still to get through. I can't believe how many we've got here. Gosh, oh, I've just found one of my men. My men. There you go, it's the guy with the binoculars that's put it back over there. I knew they were all going to fall over. I should have just glued them. Right, let's have a look at one more that I've got an example to show you. Now here we've got one of the 80, yeah it is 83, you can always tell. Now I've got several examples of this. One that was particularly bashed up, really bad box. I've kept the box, but it's in very poor condition. I decided to build it, and this is what you do. So you either build the Revell version or you build the smacked up one. I have got a couple of decent other ones, but this is one that's an 83 issue, which is still in its wrapping, completely untouched. And this is the M24 Chaffee, seen here racing through on its way to the Rhine, it says. So it's on its way to Berlin, basically. Now this was a great little tank, very fast, and of course features in the film The Bridge at Remagen, the opening pre-title sequence, racing to try and get to the bridge, and shooting at the railway train on the opposite side of the bank, which is also racing to try and get across. And you end up with this rather nice diorama, complete with a road sign, and it's got like a little dugout next to the side of the road. Very nice indeed. This one's PK79, so that's kind of number 9, isn't it? Excellent. 43rd Tank Division in France, February 45, or the 24th Tank Battalion in Germany, April 45. So these only came in way after the Battle of Normandy. These arrived basically for the final stages of the war, from sort of basically I think from Operation Market Garden Arnhem, Bridge Too Far onwards really. Very nice little model. Now here's one I prepared earlier for you. If I can just move these out of the way again, because they're in the way. Here's one I prepared earlier, and it is racing to the bridge at Remagen. Hey, how about that? It's got its moving turret. It's racing along there. If you look very closely, you might see. Well, you won't see because it's fallen over. There is an MG, I'll just put it back in, hold on a second. There was standing up, I was about to say. Standing up in the corner is an MG34 German machine gun that's been abandoned. It's just fell over, it's been abandoned again. I'm not doing very well, am I? Then we've got the green screen, and there we go. Okay, so there's the MG34 that's been abandoned in the dugout with all the sandbags around it. And then, as I say, the Chaffee is racing to the bridge at Remagen. Skeeter. And that's, again, a nice little tank. Small, but beautifully formed. They were just so nice, weren't they? They just had such a lot going for them, these. Yeah. I mean, that costs 35 pence when it came out. What on earth could you buy for 35p that would bring you the same amount of enjoyment and pleasure? You know, and in these days a tube of pastels would cost you about 10p. So, you know, for the price of 3 tubes of pastels, 3.5 maybe, can't go wrong, can you? Absolutely fantastic kit. So there we go, put that one at the back. That's all the ones that are finished. I have no more that I prepared earlier, but we have got a few more to just have a quick glance at. One is the M7, the Priest. So this is effectively Sherman with a 105mm howitzer mounted on it, in effect. Self-propelled gun. Massive thing. This is one. These came out later. This came out, I think it came out in 79 or 78. Does it say? Matchbox. Doesn't seem to have a date on this one. I think think it's an 83 boxing. Doesn't seem to say. 86, it does say. Tiny writing. It says it there. 1986, in fact. Okay, that's a very late one then, isn't it? So, yeah, they've gone for this ratherly overcrowding. I don't know why they had to do that, really. That's a bit strange, but still, it's an attractive thing. I did complain about this one, though. It has a very minimalistic diorama. It's barely big enough to fit the tank on, the vehicle on. I think they could have done a slightly bigger one. I think they let the show down a bit there, but this is when they were struggling financially, of course. And you can see by the Chinese writing that this is the Hong Kong ownership. And there we are. What's it say there? Just to my different trademarks. Then we also have from, I think this is the 83 to 86. 86 again, yes. So this is the Panzer II. Now this one comes with a nice diorama, which is why I'm drawing your attention to the back, really, too soon probably. Nice, beautiful bit of artwork from Roy Huxley. Still has the little bit of a story written underneath, which they dropped not long afterwards. I'm going to show you on the second one. I think there's nothing written underneath. There isn't. It's a real shame. So not long after this it was dropped. Look closely, you can see the telltale hallmark of Revell on this. You've got the Grun punct, and you've got those Revell ceiling stickers that are like a circle. You know it's Revell ownership now. Whatever it says, Revell have got their mucky fingerprints all over this. So kind of not my favourite era, but it's a nice kit, this one. And it looks like it was intended to, you know, I think it was designed by Lesley, because it's got that Lesley feel to it, this one in particular, where you've got a decent diorama, you've got these figures, and that's a sign of the Lesley ownership. So it was probably on the drawing board, and then they ultimately got passed on to Universal Stroke Revell. But a very nice little kit, that is. Very nice little kit. Got the sort of European sort of autumnal scheme on it. That's definitely worth acquiring because it's quite nice. Also that same era, or is it indeed later? It might even be later this. 78. Okay, this is interesting. Well, this is very interesting because they've gone to this sort of 1978 look where they have the ring around, which you can tell is when it starts to change. And yet it's still got the window at the back, which is quite cool. And you've also got a decent diorama with a figure. I think it should always come with a figure. If you're doing a diorama, it should have a figure in it, really, wherever possible. Either leaning out of the tank or on the ground beside it. And that's a really nice one. And this is one of the, again, this looks to me like it's 78, but it's as though there's something very odd about this because it says 78, but it's got clearly, that is not 78 packaging, so you can't believe what they say. I think this was another one intended to be issued 78 to 80-ish, and then because of financial reasons got delayed. It's clearly got the 1983 or 84 onwards Chinese writing on it, so that tells you that it's a later iteration in terms of the packaging, the presentation. But I do believe that was intended, that's probably an earlier design. And then lastly we've got the Krupp Prots, which is the truck, and the little pack 37mm cannon, anti-tank gun. Quite a nice, again this is quite a nice one. Date, it's the same, it's 78 date, but all the packaging tells you that no other kits dated actually 78 were produced with this packaging. This is packaging that only came in 83 onwards, 83, 84. So don't believe everything you read. It just tells me that, again, probably designed in 78. But I don't. It may be that they actually, injection moulded them then. I don't know, but it wasn't on the market in 78. Don't believe that for 2 seconds, because it's got the Chinese writing. They weren't even involved until after Lesley went bust in 82. It's a nice kit though, because look at what you get. You get a really decent diorama this time with a bit more features to it. You get the gun and you get the vehicle. So actually, quite a nice sort of value proposition here. There you go. Looks great in colour. Yeah. This is something that you'll see more of in the next episode. This is a good one to finish on actually, because I'm just trying to think, did I actually review this? I'm wondering if this is the one that may have the one that got away. I may not have actually reviewed this kit. You'll have to check. If I haven't reviewed it, I will do a review of it. I'll go and check. I think I probably have. But if I haven't, we'll need to get that done. Not today, though. But I was just going to say, this is a good one to finish on because it leads us very neatly into the orange range. And in the orange range, of course, we get quite substantial dioramas. Much more substantial ones than we're getting here with all the vehicles. So you're often getting things like a motorbike and a vehicle and maybe a gun, or perhaps two vehicles, perhaps a jeep and another, like a lorry, and a nice diorama. They're adding elements, making it a bit more interesting. So that really is pointing. And again, I don't believe that was. I think this was designed. I think this is one of the ones. I suspect all three are there. I think they were all intended to be released by Lesley, but they ran out of money and they never got done. And then they still had the plans, and they probably had the tool even maybe to do the work and actually injection mould it. But they ran out of money and went bust, unfortunately. And when we talk about them going bust, people sometimes misunderstand. You've got to remember, this was a small division of the Lesley, a bit like Tamiya, small division of the Lesley group, because Lesley was Matchbox cars, and it was the Matchbox cars that really took a nosedive. The sales of these models was affected when we had the recession in the UK in 1981 in particular. Yes, but nothing like as bad as the toy cars. The toy cars started to fade away from 78 onwards. As soon as computer games came out, things like Atari came in 78, 79, and kids just stopped wanting to play with toy cars and they all want to play computer games. Now I think the ones that, like me, that were hooked on these were hooked, So these may have had a bit of a dip, but not a dangerous dip. The problem was the parent company went bust. This is what happened to Matchbox Lesley. The parent company went out of business. I think they'd probably got too many products that weren't selling, lots of overheads, huge staffing costs, and they just went bust. And this division actually was probably the one division that was still doing well, from what I've read. So there you go. Anyway, a bit of a history lesson there as well. Anyway, I hope you found that all very interesting. I've got all these ARMOUR, fantastic ARMOUR examples, which I've now put out of the way. And now you don't get to see them, which is probably not what you want. So I bring them back, tigers and comets and things, I know, not going to work. It's not going to work, is it, this? There we go. Let's see if I can double stack them. That might work. T34s and things. Hope you enjoyed it though. I'm sure some of you have really found that stimulating for the memory. A real trip down memory lane. It certainly was for me. I love looking at them. It always brings pleasure, It's no chore for me to do these videos at all. There's no work involved. And again, like I said in the previous videos, I start looking at them and I remember days and places and things I was doing and certain times in your life. It's so evocative of a bygone era, and a good one. Some of the best days of your life as a youngster. It takes me right back. Sunny days, short trousers, ice creams, and a Matchbox kit. That's kind of what it was all about, really. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it stimulating, interesting. If you enjoyed that, I think we've just got one more show to come, which is going to be the ARMOUR, the orange range. So we're going to have some of the more interesting, a little bit more expensive, with a few more elements in it. I think if you enjoyed these, you will love them. So don't miss it. Thank you very much. I hope you're all having a good Easter. This is going out around about Easter time, Easter week. At the end of March, Matchbox March 24. So I hope you found it pleasurable to watch. Maybe brought a few memories back and a few smiles. Thank you for your time. Until the next show then, please stay tuned for that one. Don't forget to give us a like, please give us a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to ding the notification bell if you haven't, and make sure you select the all option. Thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate all your time, especially if you got through to the end. And hope to see you in the next one. In the meantime, thanks very much. Take care of yourselves, stay well, stay safe. Until next time, thanks a lot, and bye for now.